Well, as things currently sit, we are looking at a liberal minority government. We still have a few ridings that are being counted. However, this is going to work out, I have no idea, but this is constantly being updated on the Global News website. And obviously, with a minority government, that comes the question of coalitions. And obviously, we saw the NDP form coalitions with the Liberals before, except the spotlight now is all on the Bloc with Blanchette at the threshold here. A few hours ago, he did a live conference with reporters.
Bonjour. Tim Sargent, Global News. Monsieur Blanchette, I know you're still in reflection about what really happened and why it is your party seemed to have lost about 10 seats or so in Quebec. But do you think, can you explain why do you think so many Quebecers did rally behind Mark Carney and the Liberals? Do you think it was because of the threats of Donald Trump that the party did well in the province?
It's at once the threat from the White House and the very clever use of the fear in the population by the Liberals, who distillated it. Each time they feared to lose ground, suddenly the 51st state came back, and there was those affirmation about Canada's sovereignty. I will refrain from judging people about that because we all have to consider working together with our differences for something like a little more than 1 year to complete a negotiation, which is very important for Quebec. And we are in the federal parliament. This is where this is going to happen.
And talking about that relationship, how do you now see your role in terms of working with or against the Liberals if they, it looks like they're going to be a minority government. It's not totally definitive yet, but if there is a minority government, how do you see a relationship in negotiations with the Liberal Party?
I will not answer that before I have spoken to both Mr. Carney and Mr. Poilievre.
When you return to the House of Commons, you'll basically be the only opposition leader who's kept their seat other than Elizabeth May. I'm wondering, will you miss Pierre Poilievre and Jagmeet Singh, and how much more cooperative or combative do you expect the Commons to become now?
I don't feel like going there now. I know what some feelings may be the morning after an election. So it's no time to say I will miss this guy and I won't miss this guy. We'll take a little longer before we do that, and this is not the way to acknowledge the conditions for a better working of the parliament.
Okay.
AKA, he's just happy to have kept his seat after everything that has happened.
And just as a follow-up, even if the Liberals are kept to a minority at this point, they do have enough seats to join forces with the NDP and bypass you guys, sort of like they did during the last parliament. So what's to prevent them from doing that?
There's no way to prevent anybody from doing anything which respects the rules. But it's so tight that it's not that obvious that those kind of deals will work. And nobody should already, I would say, look at the numbers saying, okay, we can send everybody to hell because we'll make a deal with the NDP. That would not be the right way to do things. And we have discovered yesterday that people make the decisions, not polls. And that all of that is very fragile. The Liberals are not where they expected to be. We are a bit under what we expect, under what we expected to get. Of course, it's the same thing for the Conservative for other reasons, and the NDP. Power is in the hands of those who vote, and we've got to respect that, never take anything for granted.
And that's another question coming out of this right now. If they get a minority government, will the NDP disband their party altogether and cross the aisle and just become liberals? Or will they form another coalition for the next year or two or however long? And once again, NDP Liberal coalition continues. I don't know. Only time will tell.
Gareth Maddock-Jones from City News Montreal. Can you talk about how you feel about your party's results and the role your party can play with this Carney government?
There's nobody but us that will bring in that parliament what is different in Quebec economy. Aluminum and clean energy and lumberwood and aerospace and all of that. Nobody spoke of it. We have, and we will keep doing that. And we will have to remain the barrier not to be crossed, protecting French language and secularity of the state in Quebec and a different model in immigration which has to be successful, and the fact that there's no future for oil and gas, at least in Quebec and probably everywhere, and this has to be said and protected. I have a brand new weapon to do that. Mr. Bonin will be extraordinary carrying that message.
Many are assuming that the Liberals may try to form government with the NDP, but if you're given that chance to collaborate, what would you like to see? What kind of policies or what would you like to negotiate in this collaborative mood that you're trying to establish?
Kind of a truce in which the Liberals would refrain from being offensive about language and secularity of the state and immigration and oil. Looking at what we have in common and working on that, basically. And I must say that the marriage between the NDP and the Liberals brought the NDP from 25 to 7. I'm not sure if I were them that I would try that another time.
He just came out and warned the NDP, essentially, saying, if you do it again, your party's completely done. But at the same time, there's the whole idea that they could just disband the party. They don't have really any say at this point other than another coalition with the Liberals. And the Bloc leader right there, he said he's ready for a truce with the Liberals, meaning he's most likely gonna work with them. And the big issue that they constantly keep bringing up is obviously Trump. But other than that, they don't talk about any other policies. They don't mention what they're going to do to fix the economy. Let's be real here, 4 more years of liberal policies, they're not going to be fixing the economy.
You said earlier that you plan to speak with the other leaders later today. Can you say, what do you plan to say to them? What will your message be?
Respectful opening for some future discussions about what we have in common and how we could negotiate. The last thing the Quebec people and Canada people want is instability in the federal parliament. It's not something very easy to say because those who fought for this result want us to go on with independence as soon as possible, but I'm sure that they understand that the population of Quebec said, we might be back, but now fix this thing. And I intend to contribute fixing this thing with no compromise for the interests of Quebec.
Yeah, and a little more on that. You did mention also that you envision a kind of partisan truce for the next few months. Mm-hmm. How do you see that working concretely? What do you think can be accomplished?
That's enough of a challenge for me not to be able to answer that now. Up to not so long ago, we hardly spoke to each other. We will achieve that. I'm more seasoned in politics than my colleagues. And I have such a sweet temper.
All right, well, no shocker there. The Bloc Québécois wanting the best interest for Quebec. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that sub button, and I'll see you in the next one.